welcome back to Everything in Between. I'm here with Crystal, and she's here to share her story. So, Crystal, wherever you want to start.
Okay. Hey guys. My story really begins like 20 years ago. I was 17. I always had anxiety when I was a little girl. As I was growing up, always had anxiety. But for me, I think it was more of an empath kind of thing. Like I always just felt emotions of everybody else, and I carried those emotions with me, and it caused a lot of anxiety growing up. But then at the age of 17, I became pregnant with my first child. And um, I ended up getting married to the guy that I got pregnant by. And we ended up getting married, buying a brand new house in like this very, very up class neighborhood. So it was a lot of money. And he started a new job. I had started a new job soon after giving birth, and when my son was 2 years old, I had my first panic attack, and there was no rhyme or reason. Like I was just sitting outside, he was playing, and then, bam! All of a sudden, I just get flooded with all these emotions and adrenaline, and like I was gonna die, and in my opinion, all that came from was hormones, just having a baby plus all the stress of everything that had just happened. I just had a brand new baby, bought a brand new house, got married, new jobs. Like it was a lot. And I was only 18 years old. So I figured, this is definitely coming from all that. But I go to the doctor, and they automatically, this is not normal. You need to be put on medication. And I'm like, okay, we listen to our doctors, right? They're the ones that went to school. So I started an antidepressant. Well, from there led my spiral. Um, from that day on, I was on every medication. There's not an antidepressant that I have not been on. I took every one there was. It didn't matter. I know there's SSIs, SSRIs, tricyclic, antipsychotics. I've been on them all. Um, and I continued to get worse because what would happen was, I would go up on dose because they were like, we need to go up. That's why it's not working. We need to go up on dose. Okay. So I'd get to the max dose. Okay. It's no longer working because we need to try a different one. So let's try a different one. So I continued that pattern from 20 years. I continued to get worse to the point I had developed panic disorder, agoraphobia, generalized anxiety disorder, depression, OCD. It just kept piling on. Every time they would switch my meds, a new diagnosis would come. Um, at that point, I was able to go out and leave my house and stuff like that, but it was very hard. I'd go in a restaurant and I'd have to sit at a place that had an exit door close by. If I went into a store, I had to know where all the exits were. Um, so I wasn't to the point where I was, housebound or bedridden or anything like that. But I was living a restricted life because of it. Um, and it just continued to get worse. So then, 10 years after I started an antidepressant, they were like, these antidepressants are no longer working for you. We need to add something to the mix. So they prescribed me a benzodiazepine. Um, and I started that benzodiazepine, which was Ativan. And same thing. Um, I took that for 10 years at 4 milligrams. And if you read on the insert, you're not supposed to take a benzo longer than 6 weeks. Um, but I continued to take it for years and years and years, and I continued to spiral to the point that I was no longer able to even drive my kids to school. Um, I started having diagnoses. Like it was just weird stuff was starting to happen. Before I started medication, I weighed 120 pounds. By the time I got to the point of being put on benzodiazepines, I was 245 pounds. And a lot of it was just water weight. I just continued to gain weight, gain weight, gain weight. I developed asthma. I developed hypertension, high blood pressure. I developed diabetes, um, all randomly. No, no, it does not run in my family. There was no rhyme or reason. It was just crazy. I didn't eat. I ate fine. I didn't eat like I wasn't supposed to. Um, but I kept getting all these diagnoses. And um, so by the time I started the benzodiazepine, I was pretty bad off. And things continued to escalate, escalate. Well, back in 2018, I started having some heart problems. And I already had high blood pressure, but my heart rate was going up to like 160 and not stopping, not resting. It was just constantly getting higher and higher. And so I went to my doctor. They called the ambulance to the practice and told me I needed to go to the emergency room, because something wasn't right. Okay, hold on. Let me take a sip of water real quick.
All right.
Okay, so that was 2018. And so then I go to the hospital. The doctor's like, okay, we think you have serotonin syndrome, which comes from antidepressants. So we want you to stop this medication. Now, granted, um, I had been on this medication for 20 years and I was at the highest possible dose that you can take. And I was like, okay, I didn't know any better. I was like, okay. So they cold turkeyed me off of my antidepressant. And I entered into a hell that I did not know existed. I became completely bedridden, completely housebound. I had to be fed, I had to be bathed, I could barely walk. Um, I didn't recognize my kids or my family. It was a very, very scary time. And I developed what they call akathisia. That's from psych med withdrawal. And it doesn't even have to be withdrawal for you to develop akathisia, but it's a very, very awful thing to have. It's like an inner restlessness where you have to continuously be moving, and it's very hard to continue to be moving when you're completely bedridden. I developed something beyond panic. I've developed terror. And if you think panic attacks are bad, wait till you have a terror attack. It's something that would last 24, 48 hours straight, where it was just constant adrenaline going through my body all the time. And I thought I was going to die. I contemplated suicide. I wrote all my notes to my children because I thought it was the end. Um, I was like that for a year, where I was at that level of intensity, not being able to function or anything. And then I joined a whole bunch of groups on Facebook. There's thousands of them, for people who were going through the same thing as me. And then I realized that I had to come off the benzo because it was also contributing to what was going on with me. Um, so I did that, and I had went to a neurologist in the beginning of all this, and he told me that them taking me off that antidepressant, the way that they took me off of it without a taper, and even so, with me being on it for as long as I had been on it and being on so many different ones, that my CNS, which is your central nervous system, was completely in shock. And it had almost like it had been ripped raw. And that antidepressants and benzos are a very, very toxic drug to your system and to your brain. And, it's something that you're messing with brain chemicals. And when you reach something like that, to that level, and messing with things that shouldn't be messed with, it can cause a lot of problems. So the only thing that was there to help me heal was time. And so finally, 10 years after I was on the benzo, I started my benzo taper, and that was a year into my antidepressant withdrawal. I tapered that benzo for 3 years. It took me 3 years to get off 4 milligrams of Ativan. The whole time that I tapered, I was bedridden and housebound. I've been off now for almost 5 months, and I'm finally starting to see light. I do still have panic attacks daily. I do still have anxiety daily. I do still have depression daily. I'm still very agoraphobic. Um, but I can drive to the end of my road now. I can walk to my mailbox most days, which is something I couldn't do the whole time. And so things, I do see lights. Um, Something I did not see for a very, very long time. I definitely thought that I would not make it through. Um, and I'm not shaming anyone that is on medication because I was that girl. I was the one who was on medication for 20 years and thought that was my lifesaver. Like that was the reason I was still alive. So I'm not shaming you at all. Like I get it 150%. And I get it that your doctor's telling you that you need medication like antidepressants and benzos, just like a diabetic needs insulin. But I'm just here to tell you that there are repercussions to pay for many people, not everyone, but for many people that take these medications, some of your symptoms, some of the symptoms that you think that those antidepressants and those benzos are taking care of are really the cause of your symptoms. Because I truly believe with my whole heart that I would never be as bad off as I was if I wouldn't have went on medication, because I think that it was just a part of where I was in life. It was a normal response to the hormonal imbalances and the stress that I had in my life going, that was going on at the time. And I remember taking my daughter, who was 16 at the time, to the doctor. Her and her boyfriend of 3 years had broken up, and she was a mess. She was having panic attacks, and her stomach was all messed up because she was just so stressed out about it. And she was having panic attacks, maybe like once a week and stuff like that. I took her to the doctor. She walked out of that doctor's office with a antidepressant prescription and a benzo prescription at 16 years old. And from just because her and her boyfriend broke up, and that's where it was coming from. So you have to be very careful because there are so many natural things to try before you go this route. Like you can try vitamins, you need to get blood work. That's number one. Blood work is number one. If you haven't done that, do that. But there's vitamin levels are huge and it can cause so many problems. But I just always encourage, to definitely try other things before you go the antidepressant benzo route, because I've lost way too many friends, and I do mean lost completely, um, from these drugs. And it's just a sad epidemic, and it's a silent one because many don't recognize it, because their doctor prescribed, and you think you know what your doctor is doing, but in reality, a doctor can't tell you one ingredient in these medications because they're not properly taught to tell you what's in them. All they're taught is, here, give this for this and this for that. They don't go to the root of the problem. They give a band-aid for the problem. And, I just try to save a life because I've lost too many from it. But I do know, because I've seen it with my own two eyes, there are other natural things that you can take for panic and anxiety. And I'm not saying it's an easy fix. Like, you have to work on yourself. You have to have the counseling and the therapy and the exposure and whatever you have to do. But it's worth the fight because it's your life and you only get one. So instead of trying to like get a quick fix and get that band-aid, to really work on yourself and find alternative treatments is key to healing for the rest of your life. And I mean, that's just what I encourage, because I know that quick fix seems great in the moment when you're having a panic attack and you think you're going to die and you want something right then and you're like, okay, this benzo is what I need. But in reality, it's hurting you in the long run. It's not your quick fix 10 years from now. So that's what I look at now. And this experience has humbled me so much and has really, like, I've done my research. I've been bedridden for 4 years. So I can tell you every ingredient in that medicine. I could probably do brain surgery at this point because I know every part of your brain. And I just know that there are other options. And I encourage everybody to explore that before they take that medication, because anxiety and panic are awful. And I get it. I've lived that life for 20 years. But there are other options to look into before jumping into the medication path, because it can be destructive for many. And that's pretty much my story, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I was on meds from 4 years old to 20 years old. I was diagnosed with
Hmm.
ADHD, and it felt like every pill that I got, I did get a new diagnosis: ADHD, bipolar, OCD, Tourette's.
Yep.
Anything you could throw at me, I had it. And when I lost my insurance at 20, the last thing I was on was Seroquel.
Mm.
And Seroquel's like a tranquilizer. You're super
Yep.
tired and super hungry. I mean, I'll be honest, I never thought I could sleep without it, and those feasts were pretty good, that I would have in the middle of the night. But, when I came off of it, I was able to sleep, even though I never thought I could. And, all my, because I used to get angry a lot. I had anger problems, and I had like
Hmm.
50 holes in the walls at one point, for me punching holes in the walls when I was a kid. And, you know, I don't have any anger problems.
Right.
I'm not really mood swingy at all. I'm sort of kind of
Hmm.
normal, and I'm 30 now, so I've been off meds for 10 years. And um, sorry, my dog's whining. I'm gonna pause this, and I'm gonna let him out real quick.
Okay. But it's
Anyways,
weird that you say that. Like, it's weird that you say about the anger stuff, because I never had anger issues either until I went on medication. And since I went on medication, I've got 4 assault charges. And that's not me, my anger was out of control, like out of control. And you can ask anybody in my hometown, they knew, you don't mess with Crystal, like, you don't, because my anger was that bad. Since I've been off meds, it's like it's almost like the skies opened up and I can just see everything is so clear now. And it just is so crazy, because you're so numb and everything's just so blurry when you're on meds, because you have no clue what's going on, because you're so numb from everything. And it just messes with every emotion in your body. Like, your anger levels are at top notch, your emotions are at top notch. But that's why, because it's messing with those chemicals in your brain. And that anger was not me. Like, it wasn't. It was totally chemical anger. Totally. So it's weird that you say that, because I've heard that from so many people, that when they got on meds, like, they started having anger issues and like rage and stuff. So I totally get that.
well, my mom would probably argue when I was younger, or 4 or whatever, that I was like a fairly hyper
Uh
kid.
huh.
But at the same time, I was 4. It is my thought to that. But um, yeah, I mean, I think doctors are really quick to just throw meds at a problem. Like, I saw a psychiatrist or psychologist maybe a month ago, and I
Hmm.
was just trying to get a diagnosis, because I'm filing for disability, and I didn't officially have one. And
Right.
the first thing he did was try to give me meds. And um, he tried to prescribe me Zoloft or whatever, and I'm not gonna take it, because I don't like meds in general. But I mean, I do think some people need meds. But the cool thing that he told me, and not that it's cool, but just cool, good for him, is that he won't prescribe any sort of benzos or Klonopin or anything like that. Um, a lot of people may not realize it, but they're super addictive, and a lot of people use them to just get high.
Oh
And
yeah. Hmm.
like, I know that there are people out there that have you know their need, I don't know, brain chemical whatever that's out of whack, and potentially meds would be helpful to them. But at the same time, if you throw them at everyone that comes your way, and it does sort of feel like that's what they do, um, you're bound to give them to people that don't need them at all, and you're gonna mess with their head and make them even worse. Um,
Right. Right.
you mentioned, you know, there was a time where you thought it was over, and you said you wrote letters.
I did. I mean, I've done that more than one time. I mean, over a 4 year time period, you think, like, whenever you get to the point where you're completely disabled and you can't even take care of your children, like, you get to the point, like, what's the point in living? But thankfully, I have a very strong faith in God, and that's what got me through, and that's why I continue to live. And I'm so thankful I did, because all the people in the groups that I was in, they told me there's an end, there is an end, and you've got to fight for that. But when you're in it, just like with panic attacks and anxiety, it seems so permanent. It seems like, it's never going to end. But it's not the truth. That's a lie. I mean, that's your brain lying to you, because there is an end, but you have to fight for it. It's not something that's just going to fall from the skies and be given to you. You've got to fight for your health. And just like you've got to fight to get better with your anxiety and your panic, you've got to take that first step to get the help that you need. And I know many people think that that's medication, but in my opinion, and that is my opinion, that is the very last step, and possibly not even a step to take, because for many it is a dangerous path to go down. But I wrote many letters and contemplated suicide many times. Thankfully, I never attempted. I do have over 10 friends who took their lives because of medication injury. Um, but there is an end in sight if you just fight to the end of it.
I have
It's a hard thing.
I have a file in my phone that I would send to myself. Or just I have a bunch of messages that I sent to myself just in case that I died, because I was convinced I was dying for like 5 years with anxiety, and I, would tell all my people that I love that, you know, I'm sorry and I didn't make it and
Yeah.
blah blah blah, just in case. And I've done that many times, and you keep saying that um, meds should be the last resort, and it definitely shouldn't be the first one. I definitely agree
Right.
with that, because like, anxiety is very overwhelming. It does feel like you're gonna
Mhm.
die, and it's
Mhm.
world consuming. And you would think, just throw the biggest thing at it you possibly can, which would be a med,
Right.
I guess. But um, like, yeah, I do think that could make it worse. And there are many different things you can try. Like, I know for me, I beat anxiety last year, and I ended up right back where I was. But I think that happened because I only had like one thing that I did that I was able to calm myself down with, and I overused it, and had another panic attack and ended up right back where I was. But I think that there are many things you could probably learn to be able to calm yourself sort of naturally. And um, you know, if I ever went a pill route, which I cannot see myself doing, that would be the absolute last thing that I do. And I really also don't want to scare people, because I know a lot of people that are going to listen to
Mhm.
this and
Yeah.
are in the group are either already on meds, maybe they're even highly addicted to the meds,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't want to scare them.
Right.
Um, if the meds aren't working for you, tell your doctor. If he is trying to give you more of that same med, then you might want to find another doctor. But never try to go cold turkey. If
Yes.
your thought is like, these meds
Yes.
aren't working for me and I don't trust my doctor, just try to, cut the pill in half, whatever you got to do. But don't, you have to taper off of that stuff. And
Mhm. Yeah.
um, and potentially some of the meds. There are definitely are people that need meds. So you're hearing all this stuff, and maybe this is causing you to have anxiety, because literally
Mhm.
everything anybody says that could be wrong with you is gonna cause you anxiety. Um, but if their meds are working for you, then awesome. I mean, benzos and stuff that make you high, that's probably not that good for you. And over time, you should definitely try to get off of those things. But if it's like, a low dose of something simple, I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not smart, but I'm assuming there are less, whatever meds that don't do as much damage to you, or have as much of an effect. If it's helping you, then that's fine. But, you
Right.
know, I don't know. It's a slippery slope, especially since I'm not a doctor, and um, I
Right.
know it helps people, but also they overprescribe, so it's like a weird area.
Right. And I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, keywords is do not cold turkey your medication. If you feel like this it's not working, or you feel like you're this person, or you feel like, hey, that's my story, like she resonates exactly what I'm going through. I've tried these meds and had to switch, I've had to go up. There's a reason for that. Like, it's not because the medication's not working, because I promise the key ingredient in all of them are the same. It's because you're intolerant, and nothing's going to work with these medications. You're just going to keep having to switch. But the key is, do not cold turkey. Find a doctor that is willing to work with you and taper off the medication. And then find an alternative route, which there are so many I mean, not only stuff to help calm your body, but also, there's CBD oil and magnesium and all that stuff, and make sure that you get blood work done, because you do not realize that even having low iron, or having low vitamin D, or low vitamin B12, any of those can cause so much anxiety and panic. And your thyroid, like, all that needs to be checked. But find a doctor that's willing to work with you and not just throw pills at you, because it's your life, it's your health that you have to fight for. Like, those doctors are not living your life. And I know that that's what they went to school, is to help others and stuff like that, but they also get paid to write you that script. So you really, really have to fight for your own health. You have to research everything that you can research. But key is, just like Michael said, do not cold turkey without doing some proper taper. And it needs to be a proper one.
Yeah, I mean, I think if a med were to help you, if you started on a low dose, then that's awesome, I suppose. But at the same time, if you don't notice any sort of
Right.
positive and he wants to up it and he's not listening to you, that's when you should definitely question things. Like if your doctor's willing to listen to you and talk to you and maybe even help you taper down, that's awesome. But if you feel like, the med that you're on is not helping and he just wants to up it, I mean, I don't want to say, listen to us and question your doctor, but, potentially that's something you're going to have to do. Um, but yeah, the cold turkey thing, not good. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
so I was bedridden for 2 weeks, but it had nothing to do with meds. My anxiety, um, just happened completely. I think I manifested all of it on my own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard this before, but I had a UTI, and I had to pee every 5 minutes, and I was working the cash register, and my boss had to cover for me like every 5 minutes, and she didn't want to. She would get pissed off every time I had to go to the bathroom, which was like all the time. And the stress of like ringing people up, knowing that any minute I'm gonna have to piss off my boss again, I just started to get really dizzy.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never experienced anxiety or dizziness before, so I just immediately thought I was dying. And um, I convinced myself I was dying for like 3 years, and I told myself if I went to the doctor that they were just going to tell me, I have 2 days to live, and I definitely didn't want to hear that, so I avoided the doctor at all costs, and, just sat at home dying for 3 years, and eventually, I found out that, I mean, people were telling me all the time, it's just, it's hard to hear other people when anxiety is so severe, everything just, it feels real,
Yeah.
so, for the last 3 years, I guess, all this has been happening for 6. I've known it's anxiety, and I've had progress, but I've also, gone all the way back down to where I can't leave my house at all, or I get scared when I'm alone. Luckily, I'm actually doing okay because, for the last couple months, when my wife leaves the house and I'm by myself, I freak out. And
Right.
she actually was off work for a couple weeks, and every time she had to go to the store, I would lose my shit. But she just went back to work today. I've been alone for like an hour, and I'm doing okay.
And that's really good, because that's definitely progress. I'm the same way. Like, when my older kids, like, I have three older kids, and all of them moved out this year. And then my youngest two are at home, but my oldest youngest is 14. And when she leaves, it's just like, I mean, they're kids. Like, what can they do to, what are they going to do to protect me? But that's how I am. Like, I'm scared to death to be by myself. But they're getting ready to go back to school, so I've been making them leave the house so that I'm home by myself to get myself ready. And like you, I'm home alone today, and I'm doing it. But agoraphobia is a rough thing to have. Like, it really is, and I feel for anybody that has it, because it's a hard cycle to break. And it's once it's happened a couple of times, it comes that learned behavior, and your brain learns that it thinks everything is dangerous, 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 and the only way through it is to actually do it. Like, that's how you break the pattern, is actually doing it. And that is some hard stuff to do. Exposure therapy is a beast, but it does work. And I know it because it's worked for me. But it is very, very hard to actually make yourself do it, because you're so scared and you get all those feelings, like you really literally think you're dying. Like, it legit feels like you're going to die. But here we are, we are not dead.
Yeah. I mean, I do consider it similar to, overcoming the thought of death, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
ultimate fear.
Yep.
I mean, I associate all my fear with just like every panic attack is equal to death. Well, not necessarily completely true, but in my mind during the panic, that is exactly what it is, and I'm telling
Right.
myself I'm gonna die. And you have to voluntarily put yourself through that, but you don't have to go like all the way, immediately. Exposure therapy, especially baby
Mm-hmm.
steps.
Yep.
You see
Yep.
what you can handle, and if 10 feet away from your house is scary, then you go 9 and you stare at the 10th foot until it's boring, and then you go 10. And
Right.
it can take you a long time to master it, but and you might even fall back sometimes, but
Oh, yes, for sure.
I know I have. What are your, just out of curiosity, my 3 main triggers are, being too far away, obviously, but being in the car. I feel like I'm trapped, and if I panic, I can't escape. And the third would be being alone. Do you have a top list of things that trigger you?
Well, I'm very triggered by many, many things, but I would definitely say that the first two that you said are main ones for me too. Being too far from home, like I can't. It's very, very strange that, like, around my house, I can drive like around the block of my house, but once I cannot see my house anymore, the panic starts coming. Um, and being in the car when I'm driving, I'm okay as long as I can see my house. But once I can't see my house anymore, it's just a shit show. Um, and even if somebody else is driving, I feel more comfortable with me driving than me being in the passenger seat, because I feel more in control with me driving. But at the same time, like, it's still just so hard once I don't see my house, because, like, for example, I tried my very, very hardest to go to the dentist in November, because I had a toothache really, really bad. And it was it was just impossible. Like, I got maybe 5 miles from my house and literally tried to jump out the car. I was like, okay, we're going to have to call the ambulance to take me back home, because I cannot ride in the car back home. And it was just, I didn't make it. I literally, every 5 seconds, like, it was almost like an urge to jump out of the car. Um, so it was very, very scary. And that put me back like a lot, because once again, I learned, okay, this is going to cause me to panic if I go 5 miles from my house. So definitely being in a car, going too far from home, and a lot of people. I can't be around a lot of people. Like, I had 2 baby showers at my house recently, and I had them both venues was outside. I had to stay inside the house and, like, literally just sit at my door um, while they were in a, a big tent that I rented. They were inside the tent, and I just put a chair by my door, and that's where I sat the whole time, because I can't be around a whole bunch of people. So those are my 3 biggest things.
When did that dentist thing happen? How
That
long?
happened in November.
Did you actually take an ambulance back home, or how did that
No,
work?
No, I didn't. I just had to hold on for dear life. Like I cried and I screamed, and my mom drove me home, and I just it was it was a shit. My mom was just like, it's like I'm watching a horror flick because I like literally just lost my mind. I cannot. That's my biggest thing. Like I can ride around the block. There's a store, a Dollar General at the end of my road. I can go in the parking lot, but I can't go inside. I can go to the parking lot. But as soon as I get to, about 2 miles, mile and a half from my house, it hits me so hard that I just feel like I feel like I'm losing it. Like I literally feel like I'm just going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
Like the panic is just unbelievable.
I feel like I'm suffocating in the car. For me, it's mostly my breath. It's like I'm not getting enough air, but I know I am. Um, how do you feel about red lights? Like when you're going.
Oh, no, no, no,
I
no, no.
know. Every time we
No.
hit a red light, I'm just like, oh my god. Like we need to get where we're going a lot faster than this.
That's what, because I'm always scared. Like, am I going to get out of the car? Like, am I going to get out of the car? Because we'll be sitting there at a red light, and I'm just like I feel like I just want to open the door and get out. And so but I have to get past this. Like I've been started doing exposure therapy, and like I can't live like this. I'm 40 years old, and I refuse to let this be my whole life. Like I just refuse. I'm not going to let it be my identity. I've got to get past it. So I'm just going to do what I need to do that. And I know it's going to be hard. It's going to be so, so hard because I've been in this house. Like I've been nowhere except for halfway to that dentist for 4 years. Not even been to a doctor in 4 years.
Yeah,
So,
I got lucky. I actually live 5 minutes away from my mom's, and her house I consider to be my second safe place. So once I'm like getting there is terror, but once I'm
mm-hmm,
there, I'm okay. So
so that's how I was with my mom. So she lives 8 miles, so not much further than your mom. But once I get there, I'm okay. It's just getting there. Like that's how I am. It's the drive there. Like I think I would be okay. I think I would even be okay going in smaller stores, maybe not big stores, but like smaller stores if I could just get there. That's my struggle.
yeah, I've gone to stores, and yeah, I've never really panicked inside a store other than the first one I had, for my work. But I think it, you know, the first day that it happened, the moment I like walked out of work because I couldn't handle it anymore, I felt 10 times better, like just walking home. But then that was that day, and um, yeah, I mean I've been able to go to stores and be fine. I think for me, when I get into a car, I have like 5 things that I do. So I'll put on my headphones and I'll have like a motivational video ready to play, not playing but ready to play, and I'll sit there and try to see how long I can last sitting up straight. And if I start to panic, then I'll play the video. And if that doesn't work, then I'll lay down. And if that doesn't work, I'll play a game on my phone. And if that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work, I'll hold on for dear life. And by the time that happens, I'm already, at my mom's, which is only 5 minutes away. But, like, yeah, all that occurs within 5 minutes. So going further than that is just, so far, it's not a reality for me. But, the times where I do sit up straight and make it the whole time without having to, fall back on my backup plans, you do feel confident. And there are moments, it really is a mindset. Like, it's a
Oh yeah.
thought. And, if you can, I say this all the time, but if you can, like, manifest terror and anxiety, you have the ability to manifest
Mm-hmm.
courage and bravery and, feeling
Definitely.
strong and good about yourself. I know you mentioned, God, and I'm not exactly religious. Like, I believe there's something, I just don't know what. Um, but I do think, with, there's certain movies that you watch, like horror movies that make you afraid, or romance movies that make you cry at the end. There are things that can happen to you that are, like, outside of your body that affect your mind and can sort of, um, put these thoughts and feelings in your head of, like, there's movies that'll probably pump you up, or, there's also
Mm-hmm.
music that could do similar things. So I do think there are things you could potentially think about, on your own. I've been trying to do this as well. I've been trying to imagine myself fighting death. Like, when I was a kid, I had a big imagination. I would pick up a stick, and that would be a sword. At me as a
Right.
5-year-old kid, and I would like fight the wind. Imagining that I'm fighting, a bunch of bad guys, and I'm trying to do something similar. Obviously, I'm not waving around a stick, but I'm trying to, because I associate panic with death, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to, because when we're having panic attacks or anxiety in general, there's no threat. There's nothing to focus on. It's just my body, and my body is losing its mind, and I'm trying to take that fight, you know, back in my mind, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, if you're dreaming and you're not aware of the dream or whatever, it just kind of happens to you. But if you can become aware within your dream, just like, my mind, I should be able to control my thoughts. I should be able to control my feelings by manifesting, um, certain things, like telling myself the truth. My body is lying to me, saying I'm gonna
Mhm.
die or whatever. But you know, I've never actually had a heart attack. I've never had to been taken to the hospital. I've never passed out before. Um, I know I have anxiety, so I know all these feelings that I'm having are normal and can be explained. And um, it's hard to get to that thought when, like, during a panic attack. But um, yeah, I mean, I'm just sort of trying to fight back and channel things that make me feel strong and brave. And yeah, I
Yeah.
sort of rambled there for a little bit.
No, that's fun. I mean, it really is. It is mindset. I mean, you've got to retrain that brain. It really is about that because your brain gets stuck on those negative thoughts and it just continues and continues until you change those negative thoughts. And it's crazy how much a negative thought can manifest physical symptoms. It really is. Your brain is just the strongest organ in your body, but it's also very, very neuroplastic, so it can be changed completely. It's just something that takes a lot of work, but it's definitely worth the work to change your life.
So I'm gonna have to disagree with you, and I don't know if this sounds kind of dumb to you, but I don't think the brain is the strongest part.
Okay, what do you think's the strongest part?
I think it's your heart. I
Well,
think
no, that is true. Yeah,
I
that's true for sure.
I think that fear and terror in your mind is very powerful, but I do think that the only way out of it, I think the only thing stronger than fear is hope and
Yeah, yeah.
love, and that's in
Mhm.
your heart, and that's what you
Yeah,
got to use to fight back. I really do
for
believe
sure.
that.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. Yeah. No doubt about that. For sure.
So, if you were to just start randomly walking, how far do you think you could get before it's just nope, got to turn back?
Mm. Probably about, I'd say 24 feet maybe.
24 feet. And you could drive further than that as long as you can see your house?
I can drive further than that. And I can't really, I not always see my house, but I can see my road. As long as I can see my road, I'm good. Or I stay on my road. Like that Dollar General and that gas station that I said's at the end of my road, like I can still see my road from it. But as soon as that's out of sight, yeah.
When's the last time you went to the Dollar General?
Yesterday.
Oh, okay. So you can go into smaller stores. It's just beyond that road. It's no.
Right, but I can't go inside. Like I don't go inside. I'll drive there and just drive around the parking lot. All my neighbors think I'm just this crazy person, but I drive around the parking lot and come right back home. But
How
it's
how often do
just
you drive there?
maybe once a week.
And do you sit in the parking lot or you just get there and get back?
I try to. Like I'll sit there and I'll look at the clock and try to make myself stay there for maybe 3 minutes, sometimes five. Sometimes I can't stay at all. Um, and there's a lot of people that go through that store, and especially the gas station. So I try. Yeah, I don't know if you know the saying. You hear all the weird guys are at the gas station trying
Hmm.
to holler at girls. So I can't sit there too long without somebody knocking on my window. So I'm like, okay, I'll sit here for a couple of minutes, and I try to do that, and then then I have to leave. I can't stay there too long.
So does anyone live with you that could potentially go with you?
Well, my kids will ride with me sometimes to the store. But most of the time I'm more comfortable if it's just me driving and me by myself.
Is that because you don't want to, like, there
Like
are
I,
certain people I don't want to, like, panic in front of or feel uncomfortable
right.
around?
That's exactly what it is. I don't want them to see how I'm acting. Like I feel like somebody's staring at me when I'm having anxiety because they're just like, "What?" You know, and even though it's my kids and even though they've seen me go through this for so long, I still feel that way. Like I just can't stand feeling like somebody's staring at me.
How old is the oldest kid?
Well, my oldest, he's 22. But my oldest that lives at home is 14.
14, yeah.
So like
Um,
I have a 22-year-old, 19-year-old, 18-year-old, 14-year-old, and 9-year-old.
is there anyone in your life that could come to you and go to the store with you that sort of understands your situation that you would be more comfortable with?
Well, my mom does once in a while, like she will, but I feel like I feel like with my mom, she's just very she can't stand seeing me like that. It upsets her. Like it just not necessarily scares her, but upsets her. And I can't stand to see her upset. I have noticed though, like the therapist that I'm working with now, she's trying to work with me with some exposure. We hadn't got deep into that part of it yet, but she'll FaceTime me. Um, and I'm walking to the mailbox now, which is something I haven't been able to do. Um, and that started with her helping me to get there. So with her on FaceTime, that has helped. And that is the next step. She wants me to drive further with her on the phone on FaceTime because she lives in Canada. So it's not a local therapist. But I'm trying to work with her with some exposure. We're going to see how it goes without me actually having like a therapist here to do it. We're just going to see how it goes with FaceTime and just go from there.
I mean, if potentially you're feeling it, you're feeling confident, and you're like, I need someone though. I mean, you could always call me. Like, I'll
Yeah,
FaceTime with you, and we can go to the store. I mean, I want it. How long is that drive to the store? Like,
it's not long at all.
like
Like
2 minutes,
literally,
5 minutes?
probably 60 seconds. Like I can see the parking lot right now
You
from
can
where
do
I'm
it.
sitting. Yeah.
You can do it.
So,
I think you can do it. I really do.
yeah, it's not far at all. But
So what what when you're panicking or having anxiety, what sort of, like, symptoms are you having? Like, how quick are you to go from anxious thoughts to panic?
I can go literally from anxious to panic in seconds. But I go like the first feeling that comes over, I can feel like adrenaline start pumping through my body. And then when it starts going through my body, I know I'm going into a panic attack. And then my breathing starts getting real shallow. And then my thoughts start racing. My vision gets blurry. I feel like I can't swallow. I get chest pains, jelly legs, like I cannot stand up. I'll be shaking from head to toe. Just can't think straight. Like I can barely even form a sentence because I'm just like my brain just doesn't want to work right. And those are mainly the main symptoms. Just feeling like somebody's got a gun to my head, like they're gonna pull the trigger any second.
How long does it last for you usually?
That's an open ended question because some of my panic attacks, which terror attacks, panic attacks, akathisia, some of it's chemical. From this medication. So I have had, and a doctor will tell you that it's not, or a psychiatrist will tell you that it's not humanly possible to have a panic attack longer than an hour. Um, but I have to disagree with that. And my other 20,000 people that's in my group would disagree as well because we can have, I mean, I've had a panic attack last for 48 hours straight, all night long, all day long, to the point that, like, I can't even keep my eyes open. In the next like week, I can't even move to walk to the bathroom because my body was tense for that long. But that was chemical. That wasn't coming from like a regular panic attack. So it's hard for me to be able to answer how long one. last
I
for.
guess
And then,
more recently, like uh,
well, I don't.
like a normal one, an average panic attack that occurs.
I
Like,
probably about an hour.
when is the
Probably
last
about an
panic
hour.
attack you had?
Yesterday,
And that lasted how long?
about an hour.
That's a long time. Honestly, all of my panic attacks have only ever lasted like 10 minutes max. Like anxiousness and anxiety, like, feeling scared, that can last forever for me. But like straight up, like it's hard to breathe, heart's going,
Mhm.
I just
Mhm.
start yelling. Like,
Yeah.
usually if my wife's here, I'll have her come over and like squeeze my back as hard as she can, and I'll try to focus on that while I, am trying not to pass out, which I never have. Um, but if I start to get super panicky, I will call everyone I know until someone answers and talks me down. But yeah, it's never for me, and obviously I can't speak for anyone else. It's only ever lasted 10 minutes for me.
Yeah, mine's always been even. It's always been long. They've always lasted for a good amount of time, and then sometimes I'll have it like 30 minutes, and then it'll leave, and then it'll be like back to back. Like it'll leave for a little bit, and then it'll come back, and leave, and then it'll come back. Um, just it's always been that way. They've been part of my life for a very long time, so you don't ever get used to it, like ever, because it's just that bad. But like I always just know when it's coming, and like I get out my lavender oil, and I try to like smell different like essential oils and try to get that to calm me down. I'll try my best to play some kind of game, but I'm shaking so bad most of the time that's not possible. But I try. Or I'll talk to somebody, like you said, I'll talk to somebody on the phone and try to get them to talk me down. I'll put cold water on my face or get an ice pack and put it on my neck. Um, and then I have my oximeter that I have to check to make sure I'm breathing, and that makes me feel like a little better knowing that I am getting complete oxygen. I'm not getting ready to die. But those are all the things that I use when I'm having one.
Are you still on medication?
No, I'm 5 months off. The neurologist said that it can take, which I had a friend, my one of my best friends who is off. It took her 3 years to be completely free. She's completely healed now. Um, it took her 3 years once she was off medications to completely for her brain to completely heal, and she's back at work and bought a beach house and exploring the world, and her life is amazing. And she went through a brain retraining program, DNRS. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Um, and they have Gupta and all those kind of things. A lot of my friends have done those programs that help with the panic and the anxiety and depression and all that. But it took her 3 years from the time she was off medication to completely be where she is now, and she's living an amazing life. And she had horrific agoraphobia and panic and all that, but she is 100% better.
So if you are feeling anxious and it's not instant from anxious to panic, is there anything you do, when you have anxious thoughts that sort of help and potentially even stop sometimes from a panic attack occurring?
Um, I do. I've got a lot of like stuff written down to like scriptures from the Bible and just positive thinking stuff, and I'll just repeat that stuff over and over in my mind or read it out loud, or I even have a recording of my own voice that of me saying them. Um, so when I get anxious, to try to stop that panic from going, like just trying to calm myself down and putting positive thoughts in place of those negatives, just completely trying to flip it has helped me before not to go into panic. Because just keep feeding it, obviously you're going to go into panic. But if you try to flip that thought, it can and does help.
Have you ever tried meditation before?
Oh, yes, I do meditation too. And I've done that thing that you sent me a couple of times now. Well, more than a few times. And that helps too, the relaxation, relaxing your whole body. Um, all that stuff helps.
I mean, yeah, I think the trick is to find like 3 to 5 things that you know
Mhm.
can instantly calm you down. And, you know, I don't know, for me, when I first did it, because I was in like a constant anxious state for like years, and when it happened, it was like, wow, I'm actually calm. And I just got like this boost of confidence and energy. And I took it everywhere I went, and everywhere I went I kept feeling more confident until I remember, because a lot of people get anxious in the shower, and I do too. I don't know what it is about the shower. I think it's like access to my phone. Like, I would have to dry off, and then I could get to my phone, and then I could call for help if I had to panic. It's like a barrier of like, until I can feel safe. I don't know, but
Right.
I remember last year I was in the shower in a place that I associate with panic some of the time, and I was just thinking to myself, if I just have an anxious thought, I'm just gonna think about something else. This is easy, and it is possible to get back to that normal state. Now, obviously, I kind of screwed up and ended up back where I was, but um, yeah, you mentioned self-talk. I wonder. God, I just wonder what the combination of things you could do that would give you the confidence enough to go, as you said, 60 seconds to the store and back, and actually go in. And I tell people all the time that do exposure therapy. A lot of them just like walk, in their neighborhood or whatever, and it's kind of aimless. I really do think people should try to not think about anxiety. Know that they have backup plans, but have that not be in the forefront of their mind, and like go buy a drink from the
Right.
store. Like
Mhm.
I would be open to talking to you while you do it. As you said, it's 60 seconds, and
Right.
um, I really think you could do it.
And I think I can too. I think that um one big thing for me too, I think this is a big thing for a lot of people is heat. I do not do well in heat. It makes my anxiety and panic out the roof. And we've had some 115 degrees days here this summer, and it just it just knocks me down really really bad because like we have like so much humidity here, it like completely takes your breath away. So then I already feel like I'm hyperventilating because of the heat. And even though I have air conditioner in my car, like it's just so hot outside that it just cannot keep up. But we are starting to cool down. It's starting to get closer to fall, and like today, it feels so good outside. Um, but I think that that's going to help me too, as far as my exposure goes, to get out there more. But when I go in the store, like I can definitely get to the store. It's just going in is the problem, and like I start feeling like I'm going to pass out, and like when I pay, like I feel like because I've done it before. It's not something I haven't done, but it's been a long time since I've done it. Like if there's anybody behind me in line, like they're waiting on me, because then I feel like they're staring at me. So then I'm going into panic, and I have to pay with cash. I can't pay with my card because I'm just like I'm too nervous to do all that. Like I can't concentrate to do it because my nerves are just so bad. So like I have all these conditions, and like if there's a lot of people at the store, like I can't stand people to be behind me waiting, and that's something that fuels the panic. But I definitely got to get past that because I really want to try to do it. I'm just thankful it's getting cooler here, so that my plan is this whole fall and this whole winter and spring to be completely conquered this by next summer. And then the heat won't be a problem because I'll have it conquered. But I know it could take a lot longer than that. I'm not holding any expectations. I'm just going to start where I can and do what I can do.
How do you feel about this group? Does it help you at all?
Oh, for sure. Like it always helps to know that you're not alone. It can be such a lonely thing to go through when you feel like you're so weird, like nobody else is stuck in their house, and nobody else is homebound or bedridden or anything like that. It's definitely good to feel like you have somebody that understands. That's always a plus. So I'm very thankful for that. And just like this morning with that guy, all them people in there were just like taking up for me, and it's good to have people in your corner when you're really struggling to get through this awful anxiety and panic and stuff. It's good to have people.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. I sort of skimmed through. So, just for people that don't know what we're talking about, I was asleep and I woke up with like 7 messages or whatever from people, and we have a group chat together. Um, and apparently there was this guy causing chaos. So do you know of all of? So I was skimming through. I don't really understand exactly what happened.
Well, all I know is I think if I can remember everything, but I think somebody said good morning, and I said good morning, and then somebody said good evening or good evening here. Oh, it was him. It was that guy. He was like good evening here. And I was like, oh, it's evening. Or I could be wrong, Michael. I can't remember who said what. But then all of a sudden, like, he started like talking to me and he's like, how are you? And I'm like, okay. And he's like, where are you from? And I told him North Carolina. And he was saying he's from the UK or something like that. And then he starts like going off, like he started tagging me. He tagged me. I had a phone call, so I had to get off for a minute. And so I was on the phone, but I kept seeing my name like pop up. And he tagged me over and over and was like, hello. And then he would like spam it like over and over, like type it out, like every letter over and over and over and over. And then he was like, I think Tom or someone said, you can't spam this group. And then he's like, if Crystal don't answer me right now, I'm going to PM her. And then he's like, answer me now. And he kept saying it, repeating it so over and over. And then he's like doing it again. Hello, Crystal. And just spamming it. And he just kept saying all this weird stuff. And then I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything that happened until I went back and read it. So when I got off the phone and I got back in the group, I was like, what just happened? And um, he was like, I was trying to get your attention. And so that's all I knew. I didn't read anything. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I had a phone call. I said, he's like, everybody is arguing in here. And I said, I hate that. Then he goes on to say, um, you can't, or hate is a strong word. Don't tell me that you hate me. And then then he started doing it again where he was spamming. So I left this voice message. I was like, dude, like, you need to chill out, like, for real. And he's like, don't listen to this lying woman. She's nothing but lying. Then he's like, you are so beautiful. You are a lying woman. And I'm like, oh my, what's wrong with you, dude? Then he starts going to my inbox. And I'm like, okay, I'm about to block you. So I blocked him.
God, that's crazy. I wish I would have been up for that. Like, when I first got into the chat, yeah, because I didn't actually create it. I was invited into it. There were 2 dudes that were like, trying to get people to join their freaking adult chat or whatever, and they would try to send them dick pics and stuff like that. And I got rid of those guys, and you know, the chat, it is pretty much like 90% girls. There's probably like 5 guys. Normally I try to just, anyone who needs help, I'll bring them in. But now I'm starting to think I need to do like an interview process where I make sure they're not freaking crazy.
Yeah, he had some loose ends there. I was like, okay. Like, and he was just messaging me over it. You're beautiful. You hate me. Why are you lying? You're a lying
Jesus
woman. You're a lying
Christ.
woman.
Like I get it. There are plenty of people with all sorts of mental stuff, but like, you know, it, I want to help everyone I can, but at the same time, if you're, I think if a person is, harassing, or if it's not like, I don't want to say beneficial to the group, but like, if it's the opposite of beneficial, I don't know what word that is. I don't know why I can't think of it. If it's like negatively impacting the group, then I'm sorry.
Right.
Like, that's not okay. Like, we're gonna come across people that are on their last leg and
Yeah.
are so desperate to talk to anyone that is comforting to them, because I'm sure that some of those people have reached out to their family members, and they've been treated like shit, and they just hate everything, and they're gonna end up in their chat. And if someone like that is like or anyone is harassing them or whatever. It's not okay. Like I don't know. I mean, my idea of that group is that it's sort of a constant conversation where we're all sort of friends. But if someone comes in there and they're panicking, everyone drops with their whatever, and it's just like, dude, you're fine. You're okay. We got your back. Whatever. But um, yeah, I definitely am probably gonna crack down on who can come in and who can't now. So which is good. It's not a bad thing. Like you don't want shady people in there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, hold on one second. Can you pause it just a
No,
minute?
yeah, you're good.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. So, will we be seeing you for this group support meeting, our second one, on
Yes,
Saturday?
I'm hoping that I can attend the next one. I hate that I missed the first one. I ended up having to babysit my granddaughter, but I definitely want to attend the next one. If you change the time, though, let me know. I mean, 11:30 is good my time, but I know. I mean, I guess 8:30 could be a little early for some. But I mean, as far as I go, it's good time for me.
Well, if there's a situation where you're babysitting, like there are people with kids, and normally, at least in the session that we had, someone was echoing. So, if they're not talking, it's probably wise to just mute yourself. So if you have a baby there, it's fine. I mean,
Okay.
I I,
Okay.
I don't think anyone
Perfect.
would mind.
Okay. Well, I
I mean,
definitely
and
want
if
to be
they
at the
did, I
next
would
one.
kick them. So yeah, you're fine.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I'll definitely try to do the next one. 11:30 works good for me.
All right, guys. Sorry, we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but Crystal, I didn't know if there was anything else you had to say.
The only other thing that I wanted to say was I just want everyone to know that, I'm not pill shaming anyone that is on medication because I totally get it. I was that girl, I was on medication, and I was for a very long time. And I just want everyone to know, I'm not in any shape or form thinking you're a bad person if you're on pills for the anxiety and the panic and all that. Um, I'm in a group that I help run of thousands and thousands of people that are on meds, and we do get backlash a lot because they're on pills, and they think that we're trying to pill shame because we, talk about this, but it's because we're just raising awareness for the ones that we've lost and the ones that are suffering for no apparent reason when it's coming from the meds. So we're just raising awareness, and I don't shame anyone who does take meds. And my inbox is always open. If anybody has any questions about anything, medication, anxiety, panic, or phobia, whatever, my inbox is always open. I try to help as many as I can. Sometimes I can't respond right away because I do get quite a lot of messages a day from people needing help that are going through this. So, but I will get back to you. I'll always get back to you. It just takes me a little while sometimes. And that's all I have, Mike.
So I was just wondering if you had any hope for people going through anxiety, either for the first time or for a very long time. If you had anything to say to someone like that.
I definitely do. I mean, it's not a hopeless situation. There is always hope once you get what you need. There's something for everyone in this, and I don't know what that is. Everybody's remedy is different, but I know that there are so many that have come through the other side, and I know many of my friends have. So there's always hope as long as you have breath in your lungs. Never stop fighting. Um, Always reach out, like always reach out. Um, and just research. Like research is key, and change your mindset. And I know that's not easy to do. And I can sit here all day long and say, change your mindset, change your mindset. But really, like if you can find that right therapist or retraining group or anything like that, it could really, really have a huge impact on your mindset. But there's always hope. And I know people that have 100% healed from all kinds of, mental issues, including agoraphobia and panic. Um, so never lose hope and think that you're that case that's never going to get better, because you will. And you just have to keep fighting.
And you also have to understand that me and Crystal were both bedridden for a certain amount of time, and so we've gotten further down and back up. Even if you're at your worst point, it's not over, and you can always recover.
Always.
Well, with that, I think that's the end of it.
Okay, well, thank you for having me.
No problem.